Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs, and I want to welcome you to my studio. Today, I'm happy to have you join me as I make the Nina quilt from start to finish. This quilt comes in 5 different sizes, and today I'm going to be making the lap size quilt. Now, when I made the first version, which is on the cover of the pattern, I did the lap size as well. I chose a colorway that I liked, and then I just pulled fat quarters from my stash. But this time, I saw this fantastic fabric line called Real Time, and it's by Zen Chic for Moda Fabrics, and I thought this would just make a perfect Nina quilt right away when I saw it. So I have 21 fat quarters all set aside for the pattern. If you are in need of the pattern, I encourage you to go to your local quilt shop and get it. If you can't find it there, you can get it from my website either as a paper pattern or as a PDF download. I'm going to show you today how fast this quilt comes together. And the main character in that process is my Stripology Ruler. It's going to save you so much time cutting and make everything so efficient for you. And just for fun, I'm going to be starting a timer so that we can see from start to finish how long it takes me to make this quilt. And we're going to start it off right now as we do the first cut. Let's hit start and get to cutting. I'm going to be cutting these fat quarters that I've already pressed, and since I'm going to be using my 60mm cutter, I can stack up to 4 fat quarters at a time. And I've just folded them in half with the fold closest to me, like this, and make sure they're all very well aligned. And then I take my ruler and lay it right on top. I want to use the horizontal line on the ruler to line up with the fold of the fabrics. And I'm making sure that all these selvages here are to the left of the 0 slit so that we can clean off those edges all at the same time. We're all set. We take our cutter, and since we're going to be cutting 2.5-inch strips, we're gonna use the 2.5-inch markings on the ruler, which are these little squares. So I don't have to do any math. I just have to look for my little squares and cut without thinking. So first we make our cut through the 0, and we go to the next square and continue on like this. Now from one fat quarter, you get 7 strips. And the 7th strip, we're going to set aside 1 strip from each of the fabrics, because those are going to be our binding, a scrappy binding that goes all the way around. The rest of them go together into the blocks. So we're just going to set these aside and get rid of our little cuts and continue on with our next set of 4 fat quarters. That was my last cut. So now I have all my strips cut. In about 7 minutes, pretty good. So now it's time to get these over to the sewing machine. Now that we have all our strips cut, you should have from each fat quarter 6 strips. And we're going to split them up into 3 and 3. We're going to make strip units to end up with the 9 patch units, and we need to make 2 opposite or mirror image strip units. So we're going to take 3 strips and just pair them up quickly with 3 of a different color like this. So these will be my one set of blocks, will be this combination, and then my other set of blocks using the same fabric, but we're going to pick something different. So let me just put that with some orange here. And so these will be another set of blocks. And this is how you kind of go through all your fabrics and pair them up how you want them to be. All right, that's 6. So I get up and press these, and then we come back and add the third strip to each one of those. So I'm just gonna pull these apart and then get up to my iron, and I'll meet you back here. Now that we have our strip units pressed, and I pressed them just towards the darker strip, we add the third strip to each one, and we make a mirror image unit like I said before. The gray one goes next to the green one, and then the green one goes next to the gray on the other side. So let's get cracking on these. So now we have all of these pieced together, the six first combinations. So now I'm going to take all of these back to my ironing board and press them same direction as before towards the dark, and I'll meet you back here. So now I have all of my sets pressed, and you should have 2 opposite units. One with the darks on the outside and one with the dark in the middle. So I'm just going to set these aside, and how I do that, I just like to layer them together like this, and with the pressing your seam should just nestle nicely together like this, and I'll stack them up like this because we have to cut them up later on. Stack up like that and set it aside. So now I'm just going to continue with my stack, making about 6 at a time like I did before, and I will meet you back here once I have all these done. Now I have all my strip units pieced and pressed, and I layer them together like I showed you earlier, the opposites together, and I nestle them together so the seams fall in place. And then what I like to do is layer about 3 units on the cutting mat at the same time, and I'm going to cut all these at the same time to save some time. So I'm cutting through 6 layers of fabric, and use the horizontal lines on your mat to make sure that they're all laid out right. Then we take the ruler, place it on top, and again using our horizontal lines, making sure everything is perpendicular and looking great, and then we're ready for our cuts. We're going to be cutting some 2.5-inch increments for the smaller parts of the knife edge, and then we do the wider parts, but we're doing it all in the same without moving the ruler. here we have the little units, and because I layered them before, they are ready to go straight to the machine and sew them together. So I'm not going to move them. I'm just going to stack these up and then on top of the big ones. So these all go together, and I layer them together like that. That just helps you stay organized. And repeat for all three. Oops. One snuck away there. There we go. And we have these little pieces left here, and for some of you that like to make stuff out of leftovers, you could totally sew this together into a little table runner to match your quilt. So I'm going to actually save them and see if I can just do that later on. So then we just continue and take our next 3 units, make sure everything is nestled well together. One, and I like to stagger them just to make sure that the seams are not on top of each other, to just create less bulk that way. And then we chop away. So now we have our 2 stacks of cut up pieces ready to go straight to the sewing machine. And we are at what? We are at 2 hours. So let's get cracking on those. So once we're back at the sewing machine, we are going to start with sewing the 2.5-inch little pieces together. And I have 4 stacks of units that I'm going to go through and make into blocks first. And then it's just chain sewing again. Pieces laying together already makes this so fast. We don't have to think about what goes together. Now I have my 4 sets of units done. I'm just going to start this next one because I don't like to break thread and have those kind of wasted threads. Just going to sew this first one so I can break this off and just keep this one here while I go iron. So now I have 4 sets, like I said, which is 4 blocks. I'm going to go press them, and I'll show you how these turned out. So now I have these blocks pressed. I have 16 blocks. So they turn out to be one looking like this, and then a mirror image. So 2 of each. And I like to just sort them into 2 piles right away when I'm done pressing, according to where this bottom piece is pressed. This is pressed towards the outside and this is towards the inside. So I will just stack them up according to that, because that's going to be really helpful once we start laying out the quilt. So these are turning out to be just the cutest little blocks. It'll be really fun to see how this whole quilt comes together. And there we go. So on to keep my little 2 piles going here. So then I'm just going to keep going with this little stack of mine, and I'll meet you back when I'm done with those. So last night I finished all my blocks and stopped the timer. So I have my 2 stacks of blocks, and now I'm ready to put them up on the design wall and get this quilt arranged. So I'm just going to start the timer again. We're now at 3 hours and 17 minutes. That's pretty good for getting all the blocks done, I think. So we're just going to start playing with these. And we put the first row using stack 1, second row, stack 2, and so on. So I think this is cool. Now I just got to sew them together, and I sew them together in horizontal rows, and then the rows together. So we'll see how long that takes me, and I'll meet you back when I'm all done. All right, I got my whole quilt top pieced and done, and let's check the time. A little bit over 5 hours. I think that's pretty great for a quilt this size. It's 54 by 72, the Nina quilt. And I tell you that, the main reason for it taking such a short time is the Stripology Ruler. All the cutting that I did, all the fat quarters were cut in 7 minutes, and then all of my subcutting was done in 10 minutes, which probably saved me at least an hour. So I hope you try it out. Check out the pattern and the ruler to really save you some time. All I gotta do now is take this to my long arm quilter. I've got some cuddly Minky to put on the back, and then this quilt will be perfect for our next movie night.